I've had to dig even more deeply I love you back, to adjust my speech this morning, given the political assassination of a beloved Minnesota Democratic state legislator and her husband, and the attempted assassination of another beloved Minnesota state legislator and his spouse at their home by somebody pretending to be a police officer. And my heart aches, your heart aches for all the Minnesotans, for all our fellow resistors across the country who understand the incredible danger of this moment. So this is going to require a lot of us. We have to adjust ourselves, we have to dig even more deeply, and even rise higher to the moment that is before us to stop us from going down the violent drain of authoritarianism. And so you know me, I'm an organizer through and through. But unlike the way I usually start typical rally speeches, I just want to start by allowing us to feel what we are feeling. I have been feeling it all week, following the ICE raids across the country, the militarization on the streets of Los Angeles, the arresting of a United States member of Congress, my colleague, and the assault and the handcuffing of a U.S. Senator Alex Padilla. And this morning, the assassination of Minnesota lawmakers, even as the Proud Boys are circulating memes on their social media channels saying, shoot a couple and the rest will go home. Well, I am with you. We're not going home. Because we know that violence isn't just from the muzzle of a gun. Rounding up our neighbors is political violence. The suppression of free speech is political violence. Republican legislation that cruelly kicks people off of healthcare and food stamps is political violence. The insistence of so many assault rifles on our streets and in our schools is political violence. The hateful rhetoric that I see and experience every day in the halls of Congress, in the committee rooms, on the floor of the House is political violence. And violence, especially political violence, is a communally felt experience. So let us feel it. Huddle in, hug your loved ones, take the hands of the people next to you if you feel comfortable. Breathe in the strength of not being alone. Breathe in the power of a growing movement for democracy, because we are here together to get our strength. We are here to take back our country from any and all pretenders who want to be king. Tyrants and their enablers who want to bend the nation to them, to the dictators and the authoritarians who have forgotten why and how our country was formed. If you're like me, you're shocked and you're not shocked at all. Because targeting on a mass scale, especially by a pretender to be king, begets targeting on a small scale. And if you're like me, and you're honest about it, you might be afraid. I'm not ashamed to say I've got moments of fear. Of course I do, so do you. But I and you are more than simply afraid. We are furious. Enraged. We are courageous, because never forget that courage is not acting when you have no fear. It is acting despite the fact that you are afraid. Stepping up for others, even when the risk to me might be less. It's about allowing our compassion to be present and our hearts to ache. It is about using our anger and our collective action that resists this violence with our nonviolent resistance and our non-cooperation. Kings and authoritarians who don't listen to the Constitution, who don't listen to Congress or the courts, is to build the strength and the power of the people. To remind those wannabe kings that power does not flow from the top down, it flows from the bottom up, from we the people. And we gotta be very, very clear that we understand how everything that's happening around us is not disconnected and singular. That rounding up immigrants is directly tied to the militarization of our communities, is directly tied to the suppression of dissent, and the elimination of due process is directly tied to the elimination of healthcare and food, and education is directly tied to the control of women's bodies, and the bullying of trans kids is directly tied to the violence across all these realms. Because it is ultimately, it is all about the concentration of power in the hands of a wannabe king, and we say no kings. So Seattle, our job is not to wait for some big moment to occur. I like big moments, but it's not to wait for some big moment to occur. Our job is to create those big moments with many smaller acts of resistance that build upon each other and build our own courage and capacity to resist, with our own education about the most effective ways to fight democratic backsliding, about how we increase the numbers of people that participate and the numbers of events that happen, and the way in which we are willing to take increasing levels of risk. So if you're ready to do that, I want to invite you to sign up for my Resistance Labs trainings, and you're going to hear from some incredible people after me who participated in those trainings. In just 2.5 months, we've had over 30,000 people sign up from all 50 states across the country. And so please go to resistancelab.us to sign up for the next ones, which are coming up in June and July. We're going to give you the tools, the knowledge, the understanding that you need to protect our democracy. Now, I want you to know that being here today is really important. It is not performative. Recognize that right now you are part of hundreds of events across America, perhaps the largest protests in the history of America that may need to be. And I want you to know that your resistance is already being people as you and me. It's us, you and me.
Yes.
I'm looking at the ones I can look at here, eye to eye. You and me. Hey everybody, you and me. You in this fight with us? Not just for what you're doing today, but what you're going to do next. Sign up for Resistance Labs. Sign up with your community groups. Sign up to stand up with your neighbors for your immigrant friends that are being raided. Design your own resistance effort. I'm still looking for our version of that MAGA red cap, so send in your ideas for what that should be. Do not stop, because this is not a one-time thing. It's about building more and more people, more and more resistance events. And I think back to Selma, Alabama. I think back to the history of our country, when the late, great hero John Lewis and so many other students and Martin Luther King were marching from Selma to Montgomery across the Pettus Bridge to advocate for voting rights for African Americans, and they were met by state troopers and law enforcement who beat them with what would eventually be known as Bloody Sunday. And you know what? They refused to fight back with violence. They sat, they prayed, and they met the bloody confrontation with peaceful, nonviolent resistance with their own power. And that resistance and the horrible images, the contrast, is what turned the country in support and what got us ultimately the Voting Rights Act. So thank you to our peacekeepers today. Thank you to all of you who will be in the streets today. Thank you for meeting their hate with our love, for meeting their militarism with our democratism. We are not backing down. We are stepping up, and we are here because we believe in generosity and abundance, not scarcity.